Welcome to my cabin. I'm here to tell you about 10 things that you should know before you move into a cabin in the woods. Stay tuned. I've been living in a cabin in the woods in the Yukon, beautiful Yukon wilderness for over 20 years, and I have learned a heck of a lot of things that I'd like to share with you. You may be interested in starting a cabin life of your own, moving into a cabin in the woods. You might want to be building a cabin from scratch. You might want to move into an already built cabin and you may have to do some renovations on it. The sky's the limit, really. But I'm here to tell you a little bit about my experience, what worked for me, things I might do differently, and just some things to keep in mind that are really important. So living in a cabin, especially in the Yukon and Alaska too, I can say that because I've been to Alaska many times. Love Alaskan, love you Alaskans. And there's so many people live in cabins in the woods because it's just normal. That's just what we do. Having an outhouse is not looked at, you're not frowned upon or looked at weirdly because you poop in a hole. So it's pretty normal. It's a normal way of going to the bathroom. They used to do that hundreds of years ago. We didn't always have. They used to poop out of buildings onto the street. At least we're using holes and being a little bit more civilized about it. So many of these cabins are dry cabins. So we don't have running water, or we may have some kind of makeshift water in our cabin like I do. So we don't have to, haul the little 5-gallon blue jugs everywhere, but a lot of people still do that and it works for a lot of people. I did it for years and it worked just fine. Some of the cabins are off grid, some are on grid. What you want is entirely up to you. There's lots to think about before you embark on either. If you've lived this lifestyle and you have some suggestions, feel free to post those in the comments below and we can have a discussion about things we've learned, things we made mistakes on, things we would never do again, things we couldn't believe we did the first time around because they were so stupid. Like, who hasn't been there? I've been there lots. Number 1, build your own cabin or no. I have an earlier video about my cabin and my story and how I got here, what I did to the cabin. It was done really early on in my YouTube career. It's a little bit rough around the edges, but it tells a little bit about my story. And what I did to the cabin. I have to let this dog in. I built this, it was in 2007. I had very little knowledge about building and renovating and all that. No idea how to start a cabin of my own. So I hired a friend who was starting out a log home building company, and he built the shell for me. So it was an economical way to do it because he put up the shell. He had the access to the logs. He did the roof. He had the crane and all that for the roof, put on the tin. And basically left the rest for me. So I thought, woohoo, I have a place to live in now, but no, I didn't. I was living in a wall tent over there, and it was getting to be middle of October, and it was about minus 16 Celsius when I was like, I gotta get in there. Once I got all the roof insulation in, and the vapor barrier on, that was key, and that kept me warm. But after that, it was kind of just plugging away at doing the rest of, I got the windows in too, obviously, and the flooring, and the insulation in the flooring, and the plywood on the floor. So there ends up being quite a bit. My suggestion is plan ahead. Don't try and do it too fast, or don't plan too fast. I thought I would whip this into shape in no time, and it took months. But at least I was able to be inside, and but working on it when you're inside is also difficult. So there's that to consider as well. You got to move stuff all over the place, and it's really not always the greatest option. So if you could live on the property, like if I had started in the spring and then I had all summer to work on it, it would have been fantastic and relaxing. But that didn't happen. And around here we have to beat the winter. Like if you're outside in a wall tent in the winter, you're screwed. Like you're not having a great time in the winter. I worked full time and I had to go to town and my clothes were moist because they wouldn't dry in the wall tent because it was so humid in there. It just didn't dry out ever. And I had a wood stove in there too. So that was not always fun, but it was an adventure and I look upon it as such now. So one thing that a lot of people seem to do is just not make their cabins big enough to start. Like we all go small because we only have so much money is usually the reason, and then we expand on them later. So just go a little bit bigger than you originally planned to, because chances are down the road, like you're going to want to expand, and it's really hard to do. It's a lot more difficult to do once you're living inside and you have to tear walls down and all that. So just double think about how big you want to have your cabin. Oh, and there's one other thing, building burnout. So I was building, renovating, or whatever you want to call it, finishing this place for like 5 years straight. And I put a lot of time into it. I had no social life. It was just cabin. And then finally, I just, like about 5 or 6 years in, I just had building burnout. I couldn't even look at another piece of wood or trim or tool. I just had to like put it aside, and I swear for the last 10 years, no, not 10 years, for the last like 6 years, I haven't really done anything on the cabin. So now in the last year, I've really started to want to finish inside. And now that I've started it, you kind of just get used to living in a place that is in shambles and that doesn't have like a finished roof. Like staring at pink insulation for years was normal, right? And then I got drywall up on the one gable end, and that was exciting. And then, and then it just slowly started building up again. But now I still like I try and pace myself. I'm doing all this for part of it is for the YouTube channel, so it gives me a little bit of incentive to finish things that I start, because that is sometimes a problem of mine. So taking time, I'm not killing myself trying to do things every week. That is why I have this video up this week and not a renovation video, because I did virtually nothing this week. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Pace yourself. Don't kill yourself. You got to have fun while you're doing it too. You don't want to hate the place that you live in, right? You want to have a good relationship with your home. Number 2, on-grid versus off-grid. I lived off-grid for quite a few years, probably 3-4 years in total. When I first moved up here in like crappy little cabins, teeny tiny little non-insulated cabins that had frost going halfway up the walls in the winter. And I didn't, back then there was no, God, I sound old. Back then there was no cell service, no internet. Like, what did I do with my time? I watched a lot of TV because I did have a old TV and VHS tapes. Oh my God, super ancient. So my friends would like tape things onto VHS tapes, so I'd just watch those. So that was the off-grid life for me. And I was hauling water. I had a generator that was super loud. I didn't really have any solar power, just a stupid loud generator that used a ton of gas, and the generator was crappy, so it kept dying on me. So I was always having power issues, and I was just sick of it. And I just did not want to deal with not having reliable power or having a noisy generator running all the time. It just was not the thing for me. It could be for you. Some people are, naturals with like solar systems and figuring stuff out, and they find that fun. And I just looked at it as another stupid thing I had to learn that I didn't want to learn, because I was already, as I was building my place, I knew I was going to have to learn so many new skills and then working full time too, I just didn't end up being alone. My friends would come out and help me with some things here and there. But for the most part, doing it on your own, like you can take on too much. So that was just one thing I wasn't willing to do, was take on solar. And I'm so happy now. My power will go out because a raven goes on the power line and zaps itself to death. And the power goes out. And be out here and have it fixed within probably like 4 or 5 hours. It's an hour for them to get here. So they send somebody pretty quickly. So it's super reliable. And I don't have one regret about going on grid at all. Number 3, take an electrical course. If you can, if there's one skill that you really should have, and that is super handy, and you know nothing about it, like I didn't know anything about electrical. I'd never like changed a plug in my life or done anything like that. So I wanted to put the power in here myself, and we're allowed to if we take this like weekend electrical course with the college here, university now. And so I did that, and I was going to bring in the power myself. And then actually after I took the electrical course and I saw how much work it was, I was like, I don't really want to do that. It's great to have these skills and know how to do it, but it was like, so much stuff I had to get. So I hired an electrical contractor. He came out here for a weekend, set up the power to my place, put in a couple plugs inside too. I went to a music festival. I had a great time that weekend, came back, and I had power. So there's some things that are just worth paying for. And, but I don't regret taking that course, because now I can, I'll have like problems with the breaker, or I'll put in a new outlet somewhere, or I hooked up my dryer myself because I knew how to do it. So it's totally worth it. And I recommend that everybody take it, because it's great skills to have. All the extension cords that I need to fix around here, no problem. I know how to hook up those wires. I know how to do a 3-way light switch. No problem. Number 4, outhouses for the win. Outhouses are totally common. Like I said earlier, they're totally common up here. One thing that I miss at all, I haven't had a running toilet, flush toilet, for over 20 years, and I don't even miss it. Maybe in the first 10 years, I'd be like, I'd go to somebody's house and be like, that was pretty fun to flush that toilet. But now I don't even think twice about it. I go out to my outhouse, I do my business, and I run back in. And the worst time to do it, though, to use the outhouse, is actually in the summer, not the winter when it's minus 30, because you run out there, you're pretty quick. You don't sit and take your time, You do your business quickly. You gotta move. You don't want things to freeze. It's worse in the summer because of the mosquitoes and then the black flies that come along, and they'll bite your butt if you're out there too long. So you don't want that. So you're really fast. And then there's, you know, as you get older, like I've aged in 20 years, as you get older, you have to pee more in the middle of the night. And so you can do many things. You don't have to run outside all the time. I have a little camp toilet that I use inside, have it in my bathroom, and I'll use that. And then I dump that out in the outhouse every week or so. And it saves going out for those little pee jobs. Like, it's no big deal to take a little pee in there. There's probably more pee talk. There's probably more bathroom talk in this video than you anticipated. Plus, you can also decorate your outhouses. You can make them look pretty funky. You can make them various sizes. You can make them huge. You can make a giant outhouse. You can make a double outhouse. The sky's the limit. You can put in fancy artwork for outhouses. You can paint them funny colors like I decided to do this year. Need to liven it up a little bit out there. You can put candles in them. You can keep the odor low. Like, they don't have to be gross. Another Alaskan channel called the Bramante Brothers. They're awesome. Check them out. They have a really good video called Outhouses Don't Have to Be Gross. And that just sums it up perfectly. They don't have to be gross. You can put lime in them. You can put sawdust in them to stop the odor. There's lots you can do. Plus, you can make them look fancy and light-scented candles. Number 5, no kindling. I don't do kindling. That is one of the things that I can't believe when I see people freaking chopping up little pieces of kindling all over the place. I don't do kindling. You know why? Because I run my outhouse. I run my wood stove 24 hours a day for 20 years. I live here full time. I'm not cutting up kindling. I have enough work to do. I am not cutting up kindling. There was one of the jobs, can you tell my passion? It's one of the jobs that I hated. Just hated it. Chopping little pieces like you're not cutting enough wood. I have to cut wood for all winter. In the summer, spring, sometimes winter. I go out and cut wood, and I have to keep my wood stocked. I'm chopping down trees. I'm chainsawing down trees. I'm hauling that wood in. I'm cutting that wood up. I'm splitting it up, and I'm stacking it. You think I want to cut extra kindling? No. So what I use fire starter. Fire starter that you can buy at the store. The waxy stuff, throw that in there, put gigantic logs in there, fire starter, light it, and that's it. Just, you don't have to sit there and watch a dumb fire burn. The novelty of starting a fire wore off long ago. So all I want is heat. I don't want to watch a pretty little fire. I don't even care if I can see it in my wood stove. Like, people like to have their glass all nice and clean. I don't care if mine's clean. I don't need to see a flame. I just want to stay warm. This is just the way I do things too. This is in my opinion. If you are a kindling lover, I don't hold it against you. That's your right to love kindling, but I don't. And I never will. Number 6. It's getting cold. I don't know why I chose to do this outside, but it's about -20 today, I think. This video is coming out Sunday. It is now Friday, and it is probably like, -22 or so. The sun's starting to go down. Number 6, water source. I've hauled a lot of water over the last 2 decades. I've done it all. I've hauled from creeks. I've hauled from lakes. I've hauled from rivers. I've hauled on an ATV. I've even hauled on a sled, like a little sled that I sat on, and I had my 2 huskies in front of me pull me down the road. And I went to my friend's house, and I got 2 blue jugs full of water from them. And I live right next door to them. And so I had my dogs pull me back. I thought this was a genius idea. I couldn't believe I haven't done this before. So I jumped on the sled. It was just a crappy little plastic kid sled, basically. And my dogs these guys were really good sled dogs, the ones who were pulling me. And all I did was sit on the sled and go, okay. And they ripped around the corner. We had to take 2 90-degree corners to go on the road and then go down my driveway. And they went so fast, like I spun out into the middle of the road, and my friends were dying laughing at me, like thinking I was going to get turfed off of the sled, but I hung on to that water, and I didn't get turfed off. And we ended up at my place. We went probably 100 miles an hour, and we got there in like 0.3 seconds, but that was the most entertaining hauling of water I ever did. Moved here, I didn't have my water set up, so I hauled from the creek, because we had the water treatment plant, but it was kind of iffy back then. They fixed it up now, and it's totally legit. But then you just never knew. This was gross. So the creek water was a better bet back then. But the problem with that is the creek was so low, sometimes it would freeze to the bottom if people weren't there regularly. So I found myself in the middle of -30, getting some water and chopping a hole in the stupid ice. I didn't enjoy that at all. So, but you want to be close to a water source. You want to have water accessible, easy. If you want to haul blue jugs, you know, in your car or whatever, you know, there's lots of places in town where people can get water. Go to your friends, buy them a beer, take some of their water. It's a good deal for both of you. But there's, what I do now is I just haul from the water treatment plant. And if you saw my last video or any of my winter videos, I show a lot of me hauling water because I do it every couple weeks. But I have a big 250-gallon water tank inside that I haul water in my 125-gallon tank in the truck, pump it inside, and then it goes to my bathroom. And a well's another option. Here, it's a really expensive option, and the wells around here go down 100 to 300 feet at least, and you're not even guaranteed to get water. You could pay somebody 30 grand to drill you a well and not find water at the end of it. So bye-bye, 30 grand. There you go, flying away into the sky. Okay, number 7, bathroom and laundry facilities. So I did say that I have an outhouse, but a bathroom was also really important to me. For years, I just went and showered either at work or at friends. Some gas stations allow it. Some, you know, there's places in town that allow you to shower there. Go to gyms, you can shower there. I know Alaska has awesome facilities where they have like laundry facilities and showers attached. We don't have any of those, which kind of sucks. Got sick of doing that after a while. After, you know, you have a homestead or a cabin like this and you're outside working a lot, and if it's rainy and muddy, you know, you're dirty all the time, getting dirty a lot. So especially in the summer. So I just got sick of traveling into town to shower, to get clean. And after a few years in the cabin, I started building a bathroom area, which you can also see in my other video. I'll link any relevant videos down below. But you can see the bathroom that I built. You don't need a big area. Mine is, I think, 8 by 8. Basically drilled through the floor and just have some PVC piping that goes out to a gray water hole that I dug as well. And it just drains into that all year round. I insulated the pipes and wrapped heat tape around them, and it's been pretty good. You just kind of change as you go. You kind of have different needs. You know, you get older. You don't want to, you know, you want to make things easier for yourself too, so you don't burn yourself out or ruin your body more than you have to. Number 8, if you want to live in the cabin, in the woods, in the boonies, it's an introvert's dream. You'll love it. If you're comfortable being alone, you'll love it. People ask me if I get lonely out here or if I get scared. I don't know what there's to be scared of, if they think there's like Bigfoot lurking around every corner, but there's really nothing to be scared of. Bears will come by. You know, I have a video where I talked about a grizzly bear who stopped by, like he was coming by for tea. The grizzly bear wandered by, and just right there, actually, I was doing my own thing in the summer. I was walking around, like filling up some dog bowls with water, come back to the cabin, turn around, and 50 feet away, there was a big, furry brown grizzly, like, with his nose in the air. You know, you could tell their eyesight is total crap because he couldn't see me, and he was just like looking around, like vaguely. Back to being alone. So if you're comfortable being alone, even if you're with a partner, you know, the two of you are going to be alone. You're just going to have each other for company. So make sure you have your own space, but also just be okay with being alone. If you're somebody who thrives on, you know, having people around all the time, maybe find a cabin in the woods where there's people near you, or, you know, or you have friends close by that you can go visit and then, you know, get your fill of people. I get my fill of people once every couple of weeks when I go to town or see my friends, and that's plenty for. But if you really hate being alone and you feel nervous being out in the woods, then maybe this isn't the life for you. But maybe it's something you can overcome as well and be comfortable with yourself being alone and be more comfortable living in the woods with nothing around but wildlife and trees. Number 9, we're almost there, folks. Preparing for emergencies. So I don't know if I've just been watching too much of the TV show I Shouldn't Be Alone, but if you haven't seen it, oh my goodness, that show is terrifying sometimes. Somebody's out for a nice leisurely run with their dogs and they fall off they have a slip and they fall down a cliff and then break their hip and femur, and then they can't even crawl because they're in so much pain, and then they're this far from death, and then their dog saves them, or the rescue team finds them. Kind of a rule that I have with friends and stuff in the winter, because, you know, especially in the winter, something can happen. It doesn't have to be 30 below. It can be 10 below, you know. It can be, even in the summer, you can still die of hypothermia up here. But it's good to let people know if you go out. If I go out on a trip with the dogs, I'll usually let my friends know where I'm going. They'll let me know if they're going out into the woods with their dogs, you know, for a couple hours. It's just good to let people know where you are. If we don't hear from somebody for a while, you know, there's always going to be a concern there. So just kind of like taking that step to let people know where you are is key. Just for emergencies at home, you know, like we've had the power go out at like minus 35 below. I have the wood stove so I can keep myself warm, but I know some people, you know, they have different kinds of heat, like just the electric heat. Below power outage for a few days is not great when you are relying on your power for heat. So, you know, make sure you have, like, a home emergency kit is a great thing to have too. A car emergency kit is a great thing to have. Make sure you have candles and extra water, lots of blankets, and they even have battery powered or battery powered like battery powered crank radios that you can get going at any time to see what's going on in case there's some kind of, you know, widespread emergency that you need to know about. There's also like crank chargers for cell phones and stuff. So there's a lot out there that you can do to be proactive, to be safe. Better to be safe than sorry. And of course, this isn't really preparing for an emergency, but it's like being safe inside your home that I really want to reiterate is having smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors. Somebody mentioned that on my last video, is they hoped I had a carbon monoxide detector. I actually have two in my little cabin. I have two. I have a backup battery powered one as well as my wired in one, just in case, because I do have the wood stove. I have propane appliances, so it's just good to have, and you should all have it, even if it's not, you know, a legal requirement where you live. It's good to have. It could save you and your family's lives. Last year, I really started getting serious about my fire smarting and reducing the risk of wildfire around here. Living in the boreal forest, fires are natural, wildfires are natural. Even though most of the time they're caused by stupid humans, they are a natural occurrence. So there's some information online about how to fire smart your property so you have a buffer, you know, like a 10 meter, 30 meter, 100 meter buffer of trees. So like really close by, you don't want any combustibles. Further out, you know, maybe they spread out a little bit further. I have the aspen trees here too that are a nice fire break. So there'll be trees that will slow down a fire. So I left those up, cut all the spruce trees down that were within 100 meters, or most of them within 100 meters of my cabin. So in case a fire does come through, I have that good buffer where it's not just going to rage into my place. So that's it, except for number 10. Number 10 is just roll with it. Just roll with it and be willing to make mistakes. If you're embarking on an adventure, like, you know, building your own place, moving into a place that, you know, requires a lot of work, or you're starting a project at home, just roll with it and make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. We don't always admit to them, but I'm of the thought that the more we admit to and share with other people, the more we're going to learn and the more other people are going to learn from us. Beat yourself up over mistakes. Look at this horrible chinking I did. I did that in the first few years when I moved here. And it's like the tiniest little chinking. It's like a ½ inch wide. I don't know why I made it so narrow. I didn't really know what I was doing. That's another thing, you know, you don't know what you're doing. My next project is very exciting. I am going to be staining my logs inside and chinking them. I bought a big gigantic tub of chinking material. I'm very excited about that. So I'm going to probably redo this in the summer. That is just the key to life, isn't it? Just roll with it. But always be willing to learn and learn from others and admit your mistakes, and then just move on to the next future mistake. No, but you'll give yourself some credit, and I should too, because I've done a lot around here, and I'm proud of what I've done. There you go. There's my 10 tips. I'm not going to talk much longer because I know people jump off at the end of the video. So if you haven't liked the video so far, like it, subscribe, comment below. Let's have a conversation about all the projects that we're all working on, and share tips with others. Okay, talk to you next time. Tuned. Intro. I don't really have one, but we'll put something in there. Neither of the above, so that doesn't make any sense. Marriages these days. So I kill myself. So I talk a little bit about that cabin. This cabin. Little apple spice to your outhouse. I'm killing myself today. I'm getting cold. Like matches and what else?